I'm not fighting for clients because I've been constantly adding value and staying out of their way and letting them be who they are.
You know, some realtors spend like 10 grand, 20 grand, tons of money on coming up with a brand and a name, and they work with these crazy agencies, and it's so expensive. But not everyone does that. And sometimes you don't even have an idea for a name until a client gives it to you. The guy I'm talking to today is an interesting story because his client gave him his name that he now goes by, including the name of his brokerage, because the client literally forgot your name, bro. Like that's really funny. So I want to hear first, Erwin Nicholas. I'm excited to be here with you today, man. But I want to hear how a client forgot your name and how that ended up becoming a brand that has gotten you hundreds and millions of dollars in referrals from other people. I got to hear the story, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Matt. Yeah, so one day in my early journey, I was showing an NBA client or potential client a property, and he just forgot my name because I met him in a nightclub, and the next day we went to go look at property, and he goes, "Mr. Real Estate," as soon as he gets out the car, and then he's like, "Man, I'm sorry, I forgot your name," and I was like, "Nah, it's all good. I actually like that nickname," and I ran with it, and the rest was history.
Well,
So
and it's so funny because like you now have a name that boils down to the lowest common denominator of how someone can refer you. Like you know these people are busy. They're talking in the locker room to someone else. Hey, who should I use? Oh, you got to get my guy,
yeah,
Mr. Real Estate. They don't need to remember Erwin Nicholas II
nah,
or like the name of whatever brokerage you're at the time. Like this is easy. It's your nickname. They can find you if they search that online,
yeah,
and it goes from there.
absolutely, absolutely. Man.
Now,
So
I want to hear a little bit of the origin. So, for people listening who haven't seen it online yet everywhere,
mhm,
you are kind of getting famous as the realtor who scored a $100 million listing, one of the biggest listings in the US right now.
mhm,
Tony Parker, NBA star, Ava Longoria's ex husband, like that estate. I mean, the place has like a water park. The place is just an insane house. I mean, I could play pickleball there because I saw that they had courts.
yes,
But before you landed that listing, you'd already worked on quite a few high profile deals and some really exciting properties. But I saw online that you've only been in real estate since 2018, which at this point is a short 8 years, which is almost, actually, it's quite a while these
yeah.
days. How did you go from getting into real estate to listing $100 million properties? Because I know a whole lot of realtors that are selling houses, but they're not selling that caliber of houses.
Well, slight
And
correction,
they
Matt.
don't even have the at bats. Like, let's be honest here. Like, they're not selling it, but they also don't have the at bats to get it. And I know you didn't start with just a bunch of billionaires in your phone. So how did we build that?
Well, yeah, two things I got to correct you on. I started when I in '07,
Okay,
so I got my license when I was 18. So that's the first thing. I didn't start in Tony's estate is actually 20 million.
21.
So
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
I'd
do
pay a
have.
hundred for it. Just saying,
You said what?
I would pay a hundred for it. But I know other
Of
people
course.
might only pay
I
20.
mean, that's in certain markets, that's exactly what it would be or more. So yeah, no problem. But yeah, I mean, I think starting my journey and being a referral business, doing good business like anything else, you tend to get referrals. And when I started building my business and understanding that referrals was the best form of marketing, I I just definitely streamlined my business to be a referral only business. And then I think the name was really easy to kind of segue and to talk to people about, Erwin Nicholas, Mr. Real Estate. Like, you never heard of Mr. Real Estate. And a lot of times people had heard the name but didn't know me personally or didn't know the name, my personal name, like you said. So, once you start reaching this caliber of clients, they have a very small circle, you know, and sometimes their financial advisors have multiple clients within that same tax bracket. So it's a lot easier once you do one deal and you help them execute at a very high level to get referrals without having to, pay for marketing. So
So walk me just through the first one. So you've been in business since '08.
yeah,
How did you get that first big deal? Because a lot of times it's a race to get your first deal.
sure,
In your case, obviously, you got in with a very unique crowd.
yeah.
How did you do that?
So at that time, before social media, it was all about getting out there, kind of guerrilla marketing in a sense. And I was out in the nightclubs. That's the only place I would see athletes and entertainers, because once I identified that this is something I'm very passionate about and wanted to do, I thought it'd be cool to fill a void that I never see any young people working with athletes and entertainers, or even high net worth individuals at this point in time. Mind you, the crashes was in '08. So at this, all I seen and understood was that there was you know, definitely like older agents doing traditional things, and there wasn't no excitement then that I seen. So I seen a void in the market. I would go to nightclubs. That would be the only place I had access to, these type of people. And then I would build relationships. I would let the DJ know who I was. I would start hosting parties. I would put myself in environments that allowed me and my brand to be exposed, and to kind of catch the attention that I needed of these potential clients. And then I'll never forget the exact story that came with my first big opportunity. Was I was in Miami, and I remember that I had told an assistant to an NFL player that, hey, if you ever guys ever need anything, let me know. This was probably months before I actually had the call. She called me. I'm in Miami. As soon as I land, she's like, "Hey, we need a house, a mansion, for a birthday party. Adrian Peterson and his two friends." And I was like, "Great." I flew back immediately. This is right when I landed, but I flew back immediately, and with no plan in mind, no house in mind. I had told everybody what I did and what I was trying to do specifically. And what happened was, I talked to a friend that was a politician, and he ended up knowing somebody that owned Warren Moon's old house. And so the NFL connection just made sense. They was like, "Look, this owner's on tour. He was a gospel singer." And we went and seen the house within a week. I was able to execute and get the house for them and take a picture with them. That picture was like instant credibility of me actually being able to work with these type of clients. Before there was social media, before there was like, Twitter was real big and things like that. Like it was just about credibility, being next or associated to these people that you want to work with. And I must have showed everybody that picture in order to justify that I'm really able to execute at this level.
Well, there's a couple things to unpack there. There's like I heard the words you said, but in my head I'm thinking there's so much more to that
Yeah.
because so first of all, you put yourself in the place where your ideal customer was going to be.
Yep.
That's step one. Step two is like you don't always just like have access to like the actual athlete themselves or the actual billionaire. Like so
Exactly.
sometimes it's easier to talk to the assistant, and a lot of people forget about that, right? Like if I'm trying to get
Yep.
in with the CEO of a company, it's not that easy, but I could find out who their assistant is. I could find out what they're into. I could strike up a great relationship with the person who
Yep.
really advises the expert. So that's step one is not only focusing just on the person, but find out on who their people are. And then second, most realtors would have taken that and said, "Hey, I only sell houses. I only buy houses. I can't help you with finding a place to throw a party." But what you did is you flipped it on its head and said, "I'm going to give it my all because this is my shot. This is my opportunity to show them that I'm a connected guy who can help them with any of their real estate needs." And you did that, and that then got you the photo, which then got you credibility, which then got you more people. Is that kind of like am I missing any major steps there? Am I missing
Absolutely.
any? No. Okay.
Now
So
you
you
hit the
got
head on the head. I mean, it's important to identify. Yeah, it's important to identify who your clientele is and to understand how they move, how they operate, and to insert yourself in that environment, no matter how far or few between you are. I mean, there's a way to do it. There's an art to networking and connecting with people, and I think that that's more so what I focused on, and also understanding what kind of value can I create, right? Me planting the seed to let the assistant know that this is what I do, so that if there was ever an opportunity, uh, you know, think of me basically. So that's how I was able to get to that point. And also understanding the opportunity when it hits you. You know what I mean? I had just landed in Miami and flew, I didn't even really leave the airport. I flew back immediately to understand that this is my moment to actually get the potential credibility that I need to be a part of this circle.
Well, it's interesting because I think that's an important lesson whether your first deal is going to be, with a star or with just a first time home buyer. Because if
Yeah.
you have a shot, you got to take that shot because once the ball gets rolling, it picks up steam quickly in this industry. And you never
Yeah.
know which opportunity is going to lead to something. So at the beginning of your career, or really like anytime you're looking to grow or change things up, it's important to like really like take every meeting, take every opportunity and kind of figure out how can I be different? And I feel like that's a good segue into talking about like your marketing is not like other people's marketing. I've I've seen stuff that I've from you that I've never seen from another agent. And to be honest, like I don't even know if we should talk about it because I feel like most realtors listening will not even know what the hell Twitch is. But I want you to explain to us what Twitch is and how you're using it to really drive some publicity, both for yourself, but also for your clients, to be honest.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so the Twitch opportunity, Twitch is a live stream platform that my client Kai Sanad and the AMP group reached out to me because basically they do these what they call marathons or subathons in residential homes for about a month, and they go around and basically live stream from these homes, these extravagant homes. And I noticed that they did it once or twice before. And when they reached out to me saying they were coming to Texas, I was like, oh yeah, this is a no brainer because I'm studying the fact that they're in a house for 12 to 24 hours, utilizing every amenity of the house. I was like, this is an open house. Like that's how I looked at it. So what home is on the market that these young men can use and be in a house and showcase the house in a very exciting way. And I said the other thing I need to do is make sure that my client gives them a tour of the house the first day on stream so that they can show the world what he built. And he just happened to have a water park in his backyard. And I was like, the world needs to see this. And he wanted to sell. So it was a perfect marriage and opportunity to create the best marketing I've ever seen, and it was a chance for me to, again, it aligned in the way that I moved because I'm more of the behind the scenes guy. I'm not the big social media broker that is in all the videos and everything like that. I was able to continue to do what I do best, which is execute and orchestrate behind the scenes and let my clients be the stars because that's typically who they are. You know what I mean? Very popular individuals, and so it was a no brainer for me, and I just seen it as a 30-day open house for 12 hours a day, and it worked.
It worked. Like, how many do we know how many views this is up to at this point? Like, what are some of the numbers that you have behind this kind of this social media? Call it a stunt, call it a whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a very strategic, opportunity, I think. But you know, Kai himself has 18 million followers on Twitch. Himself, he was there with the rest of his crew, which is five other members who all individually have millions of followers. So you combine that with the other media platforms that picked it up because this has never been done before with the NBA player or anything like that. But we're talking about 50 million views plus collectively for the whole month or more uh, for the month of July that they were staying.
It's so interesting because like you think of like I saw some of the clips and I think like this reminds me of like vintage MTV Cribs back in the
Yep.
90s. Like how can you take a cool place that you want to whether you want to sell it or not, that you want to brag about and get it out there. Back in the day it was MTV.
Yeah.
Today it's Twitch.
Yep.
Today it's something else. And it's so interesting that you're zigging while I think a lot of other realtors are zagging. So, like most real estate agents and most sales professionals, right? They
Hmm.
think about social media and they think, how much stuff can I post about myself?
Yep.
And there's a lot of successful realtors who their whole social media is like me, me, me. Look at like what I'm driving. Look at what I'm doing. I
Absolutely.
don't I don't care. It's kind of cool, right? Like, but unless you're like Ryan Serhant, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And you're flipping it. So you're not actually the main presence on social. You're the puppet master. You're Geppetto behind the scenes, like connecting one client to another client and saying, like, hey guys, I can bring value by just simply putting you together. I think that's the opportunity that I think anyone in any price range, whether you're selling $200,000 homes or $20 million homes, you can do that
Yep.
because your clients need things and your sellers and your friends need things.
Yep.
Like I say, like half the time, if I'm trying to get into the luxury market, I'm trying to think of like who are those people near me. So for me, the luxury market is like, let's say $1 to $5 million, and those people mainly own businesses or they're surgeons.
Yep.
And so if they own businesses, what do they need from me that I can help with? And a lot of times that's me finding people to work for their companies, me finding strategic partnerships, it's introducing them to other people that I know.
Mhm.
And it's I when I'm doing that, I'm also getting other clients jobs sometimes, and
Yep.
that's the connection. So I want agents listening to think of like this is not just how to work with the luxury market, but like you can apply these principles that Erwin's using at any price range just by thinking about what are the needs of all of the people that I know and how can I come up with some easy wins.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Like, this is more about one also understanding, who you are. I didn't start out with this level of innovation and strategy. I was somebody who also felt like I needed to be out there to the world to let people know who I am and things like that. So, I think this I give credit to God, get just this ability and understanding of evolving in the industry and how I market myself is not by mistake. I encourage all brokers and agents to do what they need to do to get their network out there, to let people know what they do. But I think you also have to, more importantly, understand what the client needs more than anything. I see people modeling now, and I call it modeling, like you said, going on video and showcasing a house and tight dresses and suits and cars and stuff like that. But I can't really understand the value with that as far as execution, right? What's important to your client is you closing the deal, buying, selling, So to me personally, it doesn't make sense to do certain things unless it's maybe something your client wants, or maybe nobody's been educated enough to understand, like, hey, why don't you try to make the client first as opposed to you? They're just looking at maybe other successful brokers and realtors, and that may work for them depending on the market that they're in. But I personally have prided myself on being behind the scenes and just pushing my clients to the forefront and executing what they need first, and they do the marketing for me once I
Right.
execute.
Well, and also it's an interesting way to then get more business because you're in essence selling the fact that you're going to market their home in a way that's never been done before. You're going to give them something that does create news versus just throwing their house on the market and then hoping that it sells. Right? I
Right.
think that's like the biggest challenge that we as an industry are trying to overcome is that a lot of customers just don't understand the value that a real estate professional offers
Mhm.
because they think that all we do is we pay a photographer $100, we go out there, we put the home on the internet, and then buyers come and it sells because it's a competitive market.
Exactly.
That probably does happen a percentage of the time,
Yeah.
but in all reality, like what a client really wants is they want to feel like you're doing something for them, that they're getting some value from you that no one's ever gotten before,
Yeah.
or that they have a specific problem that they're trying to overcome, or there's something weird about their house, and that you have a solution to that one specific problem. Like people want to feel special.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, a multitude of things as well. It's like, not, that opportunity made sense for that particular client considering what he's built. I mean, he's an icon himself, Tony Parker. And then also, what was interesting is that the rabbit hole kept spinning to the I feel like the innovation, because, you know, these guys, these Twitch streamers, these live streamers are younger guys. They're in their 20s and early 30s. So, people were definitely, I was seeing comments about, well, what do they know I don't think there's $20 million buyers from their audience. But what you have to understand is these guys not only do they have a part of their audience is younger, the kids are also talking to their parents that these guys are one in San Antonio in a market that people hardly ever think about. Number two, um, they're mentioning Tony Parker, who's a retired NBA legend. So their parents understand who Tony Parker is, and they're like, "Well, what do you know about Tony Parker?" Well, these streamers are here, and so the conversation just gets bigger and bigger, and it takes off in different directions because you know it now becomes interesting and something relatable that the older generation, our generation, the older generation can understand. So, and on top of the extra media, that's like, wow, this is crazy. Like people forget Tony Parker's legacy. You know what I mean, and who he was in the NBA, and so it just takes off in a different direction. It ends up getting global exposure, and I think he's even had some endorsement opportunities from this level of marketing. So I'm happy about it benefiting both parties.
I like that. And I want to kind of segue into a separate topic here. So you, because you've kind of become like the guy for in a lot of these circles through the people you hang out with and through doing a great job for individual people who then want similar levels of service, you also have an interesting niche when it comes to investors. And you're not just doing it in the same way that a lot of people we've had on the show have done it. So we've worked with a lot of investors on the show, agents who market to people investing in real estate. You have kind of developed a niche of people coming to you in general when they just need ideas and connections. Walk us through what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so part of my story is that I was in sports management. I had the amazing opportunity to work with a good friend, Patrick Patterson. He played in the NBA 13, 14 years. And one thing I got to do is understand, life after ball, right? What are they investing in? How they spend their money. And I think that what I learned from that experience was that um, everybody loves to suggest what these guys and girls should invest in. But until you're doing it yourself, it doesn't really make sense, right? And you got to put yourself in their shoes. It could be anybody, right? Did you invest in it? Like, do you have skin in the game in these opportunities? So I learned to start investing in opportunities that come my way myself and explaining and inviting the opportunity to my clients as well as they come across my desk if I see fit. If I think that it makes sense personally and I have some skin in the game, it's an easier conversation for people like me that have substantially more resources than I do to be a part of something interesting and new.
Yeah, so the idea there is kind of almost like you test the waters yourself, you see if you like it, and then it's easier to make that referral because you're already talking about it. Like you have that experience. Versus, I think a lot of people in these people's lives might be suggesting investments that they heard about, but they have no idea how they actually work. And then the
Yeah.
advice comes off a little bit disjointed.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that same process could happen to anybody. You know what I mean? You and I are family members and friends that maybe don't have as much resources. I think it's important to speak on opportunities that you do have skin in the game with, or you do know something substantially higher about, or can put people in the same room on the phone that can that might be a good fit for them. And I think that's what my clients value is that I'm a value add in different ways. And then when it comes to real estate, it's like just we just use Erwin. Like I'm not fighting for clients because I've been constantly adding value and staying out of their way and letting them be who they are, uh, and it just works.
Yeah, it's the kind of that concept of like it doesn't matter why someone is thinking of you, as
Yeah.
long as they're always thinking of you. It's
Hmm.
kind of like you're kind of just like you branded yourself as the guy. Whether I need you specifically for buying a house, selling a house, finding a place to rent,
Yeah.
or finding a cool investment, like I can just call you and you have opportunities. I know that in a conversation, whether it's coffee, lunch, or through text, you're going to be able to find some way to value my life, and you can just be the guy. You can just be the call. What talking about? You mentioned when we were chatting before You wanted to be doing, you've done $150 million with a life. What does that mean to you? Like, we all want to have a life. It's easy to say, it's hard to do. But how are you able to build your business so that it works for you and doesn't let it overrun you? Because obviously, you told the story of you got to Miami. I'm sure you were going there for something fun, and then you flew right back home. That sounds like the opposite of having a life, but you had to get it done. It was at the
Yeah.
beginning of your career. What are you doing now to make sure that you can truly live and kind of be there for your people?
Yeah, my number one priority now is to build a life around my daughter. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and we're like best friends. And growing up, it was important for me to understand that, like, that's one of the greatest opportunities I think we have as parents is to be influential in our kids' lives and to be able to instill principles that we learned along the way. And so, I read a book called "Ego is the Enemy," and our industry in real estate can be very competitive, and we all want to be the best and make all this money and have all these things. But some of the most valuable opportunities we have is to be parents, right? And so, um, there's no way I can be the father I say I want to be to my daughter if I'm slaving myself trying to sell everybody a house, right? So, you know, um, and I did, there, early on in my career, I remember I had been like top salesman in 1 year, but I have to turn around and do that again. So I changed my perspective about what's success to me, right? And as long as I'm, executing for my clients and making time to be a father, and showing my daughter as much as I can about the world, and you know, that's success to me. You know what I mean? And being a good family man, friend, and you know, you know, broker, you know what I mean, to anybody and everybody I can, but not fitting within the construct of the hustle mentality all the time. It started that way, but I've evolved to becoming this person where I know that, like, everything's going to be all good for me and my family because of my new mentality of what I find success is. So that's what it's been,
I
for
like that. So what specific changes? I get the mentality side, but what specific changes have you made in your business, whether it be your marketing, your daily routine, to really to ensure that you're building the business that you want to have?
yeah, at first it was just being at every possible opportunity, event, traveling, feeling like FOMO was a real thing for me because I felt like um, if I didn't go, I would miss an opportunity on telling somebody else about what I do. And, once you have spent so many years marketing your business and trying to get everybody to know, you get to a point of understanding that, once you become successful in the way that you think you've been working towards, you start to realize that even at that point, it only gets worse. So I was like, worse in a good sense, worse in a bad sense, that I'm not driven by money and you know just making X amount of dollars a year. I'm driven by being happy and being at peace. And so I stopped going to every event and doing everything and just working with the people that support me and understand and believe in me. And you'd be surprised with those core clients that believed in Erwin, Mr. Real Estate, have done the most to just market me and bring opportunities my way as opposed to me changing them, right? I mean, chasing them. And so that was the switch for me business wise, is that, like, look, these people aren't just numbers. They're not just, clients. They're family. I call them MRE family. Like, they, the more I invest in them, the more it returns in tenfold of how they support me. You know what I mean? And you got to use my guy, and just being in front of me or away from me, and just still speaking positively about me has really shown me that you don't have to chase deals if you put the most important things first.
I love that. When kind of like I've heard versions of this in the past, but you kind of, it sounds like you kind of did an analysis of your business and figured out who are, like, I could go to every event, sure, but
Mhm.
who are the specific people, who are my people, And
Yep.
what are those specific events that actually are feeding me and did feed me last year? And could I just spend more time and go deeper with those people? And I think a lot of us get to that point in our career where we have that light bulb moment of like, hey, like let's actually step back and look at what actually produced and which things did we do for the last 5 years, thinking that it was just part of the grind, but really those things never worked. It was all this one thing over here. Let's double down. And a lot of times, those are the things that you might enjoy doing more, anyways, right?
Yep.
Like, I have people who figured out that they get all of their business off of playing pickleball, or they get all of their business off of like the one charity that they volunteer with because then everyone loves them.
There you go.
And once you figure out your one thing or your one or two things, your one or two people that are referring you all the business, it's a lot easier to just say, hey, that's all I'm going to focus on. And then you're kind of like looking out with open eyes to like what that next opportunity is going to be. But it's okay. You got to
Yeah.
kind of tell yourself it's okay if this is where I am, as long as you're fulfilled, you're feeling good, you're providing for your family. Erwin, I mean, we could talk for days about this. There's a lot of great advice we've given, but if someone wanted to get a hold of you to either ask you a question about how you've done this, or maybe someone has a buyer for the Tony Parker house, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm on social media. It has all my contact information. Mr. Real Estate on Instagram. I have a website. I'm actually revamping my MrRealEstate.global is where you can reach me. Also on my Instagram, I have the links of each property that I'm marketing that we talked about, and got a lot of exciting new projects to where people will be able to reach me. And I'm also building a community as well, so I can educate agents. And the same way you're speaking about some of these key things that have separated me in the industry, I'm happy to share these experiences that work for me. And so I look forward to sharing that with a community as well.
Awesome. Erwin, thank you again. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.